Hello and welcome. This is going to be a video that's going to show you how to install Ubuntu 16.04 desktop as a virtual machine running in VMware Fusion on the Macintosh. You're going to need a couple of things to get started. First of all, you're going to need VMware Fusion, Fusion Pro. You can download a free trial of that from the VMware site. Take a look at the URL here. Once you download that, I think it's a 30-day trial, and then after 30 days you can go ahead and pay to activate the license. I think that if you're affiliated with an academic institution, there are academic discounts available. Be sure to check on that. It's actually not a particularly expensive program. So look at your options there. The next thing you're going to need is the Ubuntu ISO. The ISO is a CD image file. You don't need a CD for this or a CD drive, as a matter of fact. Next thing you're going to need is the Ubuntu ISO file. The ISO file is a CD image file. You don't need a CD drive. You just need this file. Go to the ubuntu.com page. This page changes around from time to time. So exactly where on the site you need to go to download it. Sometimes you have to hunt around a little bit. Here we can see that there's a download tab, and you can go to the desktop. Another place to look, if it's not here conveniently placed on the top, is to go down to the bottom of the page. And usually there's some links down here. Either way, you should be able to find it. When you take a look at the download, it's actually going to move you around a little bit. Let's take a look here for a second at the system requirements. First of all, I'd like you to look at the system memory. It says that to run this, you're going to need 2 gigabytes of system memory. Actually, you're going to need a little bit more than that, because not only are you going to be running Ubuntu desktop, but you're also going to be running the virtual machine software. That's the VMware Fusion product. So I'm going to suggest that it's going to run best if you have at least 4 gigabytes of system memory in your Macintosh. 3 maybe would work, but I think most of them are coming with 4 now. If you can get that in there, that's going to work best for you. Some of the other stuff, 25 gig of free hard space, hard drive space, plus maybe a few hundred for the Fusion product. You don't need a CD drive, a DVD drive, or USB port for the installation media. As I say, we're going to use that ISO file. Internet access, I would suggest that you want to be connected to the internet when you run the installation process, at least, because during the install it's going to go out and try to find some update files. Go ahead and click the download icon. You're not out of the woods yet. It's going to ask you to participate in some questions here, which are optional. It's also going to hit you up for a contribution. The contribution is optional. I would suggest that, at least for the start, note that there's a link here, not now, take you to the download. Go ahead and hit that. Now, if you'd like to come back later, make a contribution, certainly they would appreciate your support. I'm not going to click that link now. I've already got the product. So go ahead and click on that link. Be aware that this is a large file. It's about, I think, up to a gig and a half. And it's of the form .iso. As I mentioned, that's a standard CD, DVD type file. Now, you may have some software in your Mac that tries to open that file. If so, then decline that. We're going to open it up in the VMware Fusion product. So just go ahead, save it off maybe to your desktop or some folder on your Macintosh someplace. That's pretty much all we need. Let me go ahead now and show you the Fusion software. You may have it installed in your launcher, in your Finder, whatever. And it may do a couple of different things when you launch it. This is the most likely way that it's going to start out for you. To create the virtual machine, we're going to add virtual machines and folders. We're going to create a new virtual machine, and to select the installation method, we can install from disk or image. That's the default. There's some other things that we can do over here. Import an existing PC, install OS X. There's a few different things that you can do, but we're going to have this install from disk or image as the default. We're going to click continue. Choose an operating system installation, disk or image. That's the file that we downloaded, that ISO file. I had saved it away on my desktop here. Let me drag it over so you can see it. I'm just going to drag the disk image right to this. That's the one that we want. So we're going to continue here. We're going to use the easy install method for desktop. Now when I show you an installation for server, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm also going to suggest if you want to use your own name and so on, you can for these practice installations, especially if you're going to follow some of my other tutorials. I'm going to change this around a little bit just so it conforms to some of my other documentation. So I'm going to use user1 for username and the account name. And I'm going to use password for password. Make your home folder accessible to the virtual machine. I'm going to suggest you not check that just to keep things all separated here. Whatever you use here, be sure to write this down if it's something you can't easily remember. If you get to the end and you forget this, then honestly it's going to be easier just to recreate the virtual machine than to try to recover this somehow. So just a word to the wise there. So it summarizes the settings at this point. I'm going to suggest you leave this alone. There are some settings that you can customize. But you can come back and change these at a later point. At a later point you could, for example, bump the memory up from 1 gigabyte to 2. But this will be fine to finish the installation. Let's go ahead and click Finish here. At this point, it's going to save it with a name. I'm going to suggest you change this just to conform with some of my other documentation. Ubuntu 64-bit 1604 is fine, but if you want to create some other virtual machines, you might give it another name. So I'm going to suggest perhaps Ubuntu 1604, and then D for desktop as a name. If you want to use some other name, that's perfectly fine. It's going to create it in a virtual machines folder that's created when you installed VMware. That's fine for the default. You could also save this on a flash drive, for example, if you're going to take this back and forth for a class somewhere. You could install it on a jump drive, flash drive, some other folder on your computer. That's fine too. You can browse around. We're going to save this. And then the installation is going to proceed. The screen's going to jump around a little bit here as it goes in and out. So by and large, you can wait. This installation can take up to perhaps a half an hour, even more, if your connection's slow or perhaps depending on what else is going on with your computer. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here. Then when the installation's finished, once the installation's finished, I'm gonna show you desktop. What I'm actually going to do is splice in a recording that I made on the Windows side. But once you get to the Ubuntu desktop window, it doesn't matter whether you're on a Windows or a Mac because you're operating actually on Linux. So that part's the same, and I want everyone who watches this to get the same view of the desktop once I begin. So I'll pause this, I'll take you to where we get to the login, and then switch over to the other recording. So thank you for watching this, and I'll meet you on the flip side. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and log in here with the password that we set when we created. Let me log in We'll give it a second for the screen to appear, and then I'll adjust so that we can see what's going on for purposes of the screen movie. All right, I've adjusted this display about as close as I can to the screen movie dimension, so we'll work with that for a little while. This is the Ubuntu 16.04 desktop. This is sometimes called Unity, I believe. This is the launcher over here. This is similar to the quick launch function you see on Windows down at the bottom, or if you're familiar with the Mac, they also have a launcher application also down at the bottom. In Ubuntu, this is over here on the side. Here you have quick launch applications that function. If you don't like these, you can right-click on them, unlock them from the launcher. That doesn't delete them. It just removes them from the quick launch. At the very bottom, let me move this up slightly so that you can see that. We have the trash bin, much like the one on Windows and Macintosh. Position this down a little bit. We have system setting, and these are what, as I say, comes with the desktop as it installs. You can change these around. So system setting is much like control panel in Windows, similar function on the Macintosh. So we can look at the screen appearance if we wanted to change the desktop, for example. That's easy enough to do. I'll leave it at that for the time being. We have a link to Amazon. I don't know how much they paid for that, but we can certainly get rid of that. Here we have Ubuntu software. This is the software installation center. It will allow you to install software. Let me click on this. Sometimes you have to reboot once or twice before this loads. All right, there we go. So we can see that we have some applications here. We can take a look at installed applications. There's actually a better way to look at the installed applications. But if you wanted to remove them, this is the place that you would need to go. You can look at all applications that are available. And there are a few different ways that you can go about this. You could look at them by categories, for example. So if you wanted to look at games, you could look at, for example, arcade games. For most of these, it's a matter of looking at them, and then if you want to install them, you would go to the application and click the install button, and then it's pretty much automated in most cases. So I'd recommend you try to install a few applications just to see how that works. It comes with 3 applications that are compatible with Microsoft Office: a writer, a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint-like application. If we were to, for example, open the writer, we can type a few things in here. I'm going to save a document and show you something else you can do with that in just a second. Here we go, and then let's see. And I can go File, Save. Save to documents, and we can give that a name. Gonna need to pull that up a little bit, push that back down a little bit, close that. Here in Ubuntu, the open, close, and maximize, minimize buttons are here in the top left. Here's your link, of course, to Firefox. Here's your file manager, so you can see your folders and your home. You can see that we've got the My document that we just saved here. And of course, this is the file finder. Let's take a quick look at that. Here it shows some applications. We can look, and again, let me reposition this. I apologize, but it doesn't quite line up with the dimensions of my screen movie. So let me pull up so we can look down at the bottom. If I go down here to the second icon on the bottom, we can see, again, an alternative way to look at what's installed. And scroll down here. There's an application in particular that I would like you to look at. and that's terminal as we go down here, and these are in alphabetical order. System monitor, terminal is over here. This gets you to the command prompt. Any application that you see here in the Finder, you can pull over here and attach to the launcher. And I'd recommend that you do that with terminal. In Linux, more than in Windows certainly, and to a lesser extent more than Mac. Number of operations do need to be executed at what we call the command line. So let me open a terminal window. And you can see what that looks like. Here we just issue commands at the so-called command prompt. For example, this is a directory command. So if I went cd documents, that changes to the documents directory. Note that in Linux, unlike Windows, everything is case sensitive. So if I hadn't capitalized the D for documents, it wouldn't have found our directory. And now I can do a directory again, and you can see that my document is there from the document that we created in the word processor. And of course, there are different things that you can do with that if you're interested in learning the command line, and some of you I know will be. Then you can play around with these. Probably wasn't a good idea to put a space in there, but we can do and that actually opens that up. It looks like a garbled mess there because my document is not a pure text document, so that has all the formatting and all the other stuff in there. But anyway, that did open it up. Let's see what we can see in there that's anything of interest. Probably not. We'd have to pull that, tease that apart. Anyway, so that's the terminal. A few things you can do with a terminal. Sure, we want to close that. So there you go with the desktop. So I would play around with this a little bit. I would perhaps take the opportunity to learn a few Linux commands at the command line, play around with the Firefox web browser, open up the Ubuntu software store, add a few programs, create some documents with the Office applications, and in general have fun and play around with it. Now, when you're ready, again, let me position the window. When you're ready, you can close this down in a couple of ways. First of all, at the very top right, this icon here will take you to a shutdown menu. You can shut this down or restart it if you want to here. That will shut it down. Let me power on the machine again to show you an alternative thing that you can do. By the way, you may occasionally see these messages. This is a message that looks like an error message, but it's not. It says cannot connect the virtual device SATA 0:1 because no corresponding device is available on the host. That really is just telling you that you don't have a SATA 1 drive, and then it's asking you if you want to try to connect it. Every time you power it on, if you don't have one, obviously you don't want to try to connect it. So the answer would probably be no, because you don't have one, so you don't want to try to power it on. If you answer no to this, then you'll never see that message again. And then it says, warning, the virtual device SATA 1 will start disconnected. That's really not a warning. You don't have one, so you don't care about it. Most of you will get that message because you don't have a SATA 1 drive. So here we are. Again, I'll enter the password. And it will boot up. All right, so the alternative way to shut down is using VMware. Let me reposition the screen so that you can see our VMware menu. And we can suspend the guest. And what that does is that basically just freezes the virtual machine in whatever its current state is. So just to document what's going on, suppose I had this spreadsheet open. And just so that you believe it's open, we'll put some figures in here. So we'll pretend that's an open spreadsheet. And now when I pause this machine or suspend it, it will literally suspend this virtual machine in its state. And then when I resume it, it will resume the machine in whatever state it was. So, and that saves you a little bit of time booting the machine up, although this one's booting fairly quickly. There's one more function that I'd like to point out with virtual machines that's pretty handy, and that is the snapshot function. The snapshot function is a way of backing up the virtual machine. So if I take a snapshot, and I can give the snapshot a name or just call it snapshot 1 here, give it a description. And I'm calling this one middle of spreadsheet, but it could be before I install something or before I do an update. Suppose there's a big update to the software that's coming along, and it's a good idea to always do a snapshot in case the update messes something up. So you'll take a snapshot, and that's a backup is the easiest way to say it. So if something happens during the software update, then you can restore the snapshot, and it will restore your virtual machine to the state it was at the time that you took the snapshot. So I think that's about all I have to say about that. That shows you the installation, a couple of features of the desktop, and a couple of features of VMware. Hope this has been helpful to you. The best way to learn this and to become familiar with it is to simply dive in there. You can't really hurt it, especially if you take a snapshot. Even if you mess up the virtual machine, then you can recover that. And there really isn't any way that doing anything in the virtual machine can do anything at all to your host computer. So you should be adventurous and playful and have at it. I think you'll find that whether you're a Mac user or a Windows user, you're going to find that the Linux desktop works pretty similarly to what you're already used to. So have fun, play, and thank you for watching.